In this video I want to take a look at one of the PlayStation 3 controllers that we tested in the last video, and this is controller number 1. And if you watch the video, then you know that there wasn't really anything wrong with the controller itself, so the analogs were fine and all the buttons were working properly. I only suspected that maybe the rumble maybe something could be going on with the rumble. So today I finally got up to testing the controller, and what I found is that indeed one of the rumbles was not working correctly. And what I've determined is that it was the small rumble that was faulty. The reason I know that is because I always test with the same type of game. So in this case I test with Call of Duty Black Ops 2 on the PlayStation 3. So basically, if you want to throw a grenade, for example, then it only utilizes the small rumble. But if you just want to shoot your gun, for example, then it uses both of them. Yeah, I don't know if this explanation makes sense, but the small rumble did not sound great, and I think when I take a 9-volt battery, then we can hear the difference between how this rumble is sounding and how a good one is supposed to sound. But anyway, let's open this controller up and go to the inside of the controller. So there we go. This is the inside of the controller, and as you can see, it's one of the later revision controllers. What I suspect will be the problem is this smaller rumble. But let's disconnect the battery now. And now we will take the whole plastic piece out because we need to replace the rumble. So there we go. Luckily the controller is in good condition, so only having to replace this part is it's not a big deal. Only this rumble is a little bit of a different shape than with the previous model of the PlayStation 3 rumble. This is a PlayStation 2 rumble, but the size is very similar to the earlier Dualshock 3 rumble. And if you look on the side, the weights are a little bit different. It's probably the same weight, but the distribution might be a little bit different. So it's unlikely that I can replace them with this type of rumble. So I will go to my spares of rumbles which I have separately from the later DualShocks, and I will see if I can find one that works. So these are all the rumbles that I have laying around loosely, and these ones we don't need. And then we are left with these ones, so I will quickly test them with a 9-volt battery to see if they function properly. Because they are all untested, I just took them off the motherboards when they were faulty, so I did not get around to test them. And now let's test it. It seems to be working properly, so I think this will be suitable as a replacement. I will also quickly test this one while we are at it. Yeah, this one seems to work properly as well, so we can always keep it as a spare, just in case we come out with another controller that needs replacement. So let me put this away, and then we will work on removing the faulty rumble. So what we want to do now is get this motherboard out, because the contact of the solder is on the other side. There are there's a clip right here and right here, so we want to gently push that to the side. And then the motherboard will come out. I'm not sure if the soldering here is from factory or not. This looks like leaded solder to me. So this has probably been worked on before. Let's work on removing this rumble. I think I will start with taking it out of the plastic part here. So I will use some IPA to dissolve the stickiness a bit from the tape right here, so that it will come out easily and without risk of damaging this plastic. So there we go. I mean, since it is faulty, I will just rip it off the board of the motherboard, and I will test it real quickly to confirm that this is the fault. I don't know if you can hear that, but it sounds a little bit rattly, if that makes sense. So if you compare it to the replacement one, it sounds a bit more solid, I would say. A bit less worn out, I think, is the good word. Yeah, this was the faulty one, so let's put this to the side. Then I will reinstall this rumble in the plastic part. And let's now focus on resoldering this back on the motherboard. So I will use this soldering iron at 350 degrees Celsius. And what I will do first is get rid of the old solder. And be aware to not burn the plastic parts, because there's quite a lot of plastic around here and you do not want to burn that. So there we go. Now I will retin the pads with some fresh leaded solder. So now let's add some flux, since this will help with to reconnect the wires to the solder pads. I will first retin them a little bit. And now we can reinstall them. So there we go. I think this is good enough. Both of these wires are feel solid, so let's now turn off the soldering iron. Clean up the pads with some IPA, and then we can reinstall the controller in the shell. But I will probably give all the plastic parts a bit of a clean off camera. So in the next part, everything should be clean and ready to reinstall and test. Okay, as we can see here, is that I use probably a bit too much IPA, so this is not really sticking to the plastic here anymore. So what I can do is try to remove a little bit of this tape. It does not always come off very easily, so I could just get a bit fresh of the double-sided tape and just put it on there, but I will try to remove a little bit first, and then I will put a new piece of tape right here so that it will stick a little bit better. So I've removed all the tape because it went easier than expected, which is, well, it's always good. So what I will do is I will use this double-sided tape. It's very thin. I think it's a very similar size of tape that was already on there. So I will just cut off a decent amount, let's say something like this. Then we can put it on where the old tape was. Okay, so there we go. That's a new piece of tape installed. So now I will just take off the top, and then we can put it back in the plastic part. I do need to make sure that the cable is not going to get stuck inside of there. So it should be good like that. And this just broke off. Damn it. That's a bit unfortunate. Now I will reinstall the black wire again because it broke off. I'm not sure how. Maybe it was not that properly connected after all. And I will also recheck the red wire real quickly. But let's expose this wire a little bit more so that it can stick good to the pad. And in terms of the soldering process, I will basically do the same thing as I just did previously. I think that should be make a good connection to the solder pad. So now I will just put the motherboard back into its original position, and hopefully in the next part we will be putting the controller together and give it a test, this time for real. So for this part I will go into voiceover since the original audio I was not really happy with that. So here we are going to reassemble the controllers, the controller parts, except that the back shell you see here is not the one which came originally with the controller. There's nothing wrong with the other back shell, but it simply did not dry enough. And besides that, I also have a customer interested in a DualShock 3 controller, so that makes me want to have a DualShock controller ready to go as soon as possible. In regards to the assembly of the controller, I have nothing really to add. It's very straightforward, and of course just the reverse of doing what we did when we took it apart. So we will quickly go over the assembly, and after that we will go to the testing. So that was the testing with the new installed Rumble, and I hope that it comes through to the video. But yeah, I had to enhance the audio because it was too quiet in the original recorded fragment. Um, but the Rumble is definitely improved from what I can tell. Unfortunately, there's no before of the Rumble because I did not intend on filming it. But of course, we tested it with the 9-volt battery and it did not sound good at all. There was a lot of rattling around in the Rumble, and with the installed Rumble, that is almost gone. So in Call of Duty, with shooting a gun, it sounds good when you shoot it with the new installed Rumble. But if you stop shooting, then I noticed a little bit of a rattling. It's relatively minor, but in a good condition Rumble, you do not hear that. So I would not consider it faulty, but the Rumble we installed is basically a little bit worn out. So of course you might be wondering, like, maybe you can install another Rumble because I have a spare one of this specific revision that I could reinstall, but yeah, unfortunately I think since you are so dependent on OEM parts, especially for this revision, I cannot buy a replacement model. And since the Rumble is working okay, I would call it acceptable. I would not replace it, and yeah, instead I will probably lower the price of the controller or make the buyer aware that the Rumble is not in perfect condition anymore. I mean, that's basically just in a game, you know. It's difficult to harvest almost perfect working condition parts nowadays. So I think I will leave the controller as is. Everything is working fine with the controller, so all the buttons are good, the analogs work perfect, and the controller looks basically brand new, or almost brand new. But it's a really good shape, so I'm happy with that. I think that wraps it up for this video. So I want to thank you for watching this video, and maybe I will see you in the next one.